Hi everyone, welcome back to Kim's Cozy Corner. I'm Kim and we're in the garden. It is August 4th and we are going to plant some seeds in the ground. It's August 4th, the harvest is coming in mad crazy and we are starting to think about fall crops and things that's going to carry us into the fall season. Now, there are certain things that you can't plant in July because it can't handle that heavy heat. So those are your cool weather crops. And so now that we're in August and the fall is just around the corner, the hottest part of the summer, hopefully, is going to be behind us in a couple of weeks. And so I am going to start some seeds that prefer cooler weather in hopes that I can get a harvest. So we are going to start some cilantro. I have 3 different kinds of cilantro. Come in a little closer. This is just plain old cilantro. It doesn't give any particular type or anything like that. We're going to do this slow bolt cilantro. And another, this is a Burpees brand, but it just says cilantro. Now, cilantro does not like hot weather. Ooh, it does not like hot weather. And since it doesn't like hot weather, and it doesn't like a whole bunch of sun, we are going to put it in this bed here. Now, I recently harvested all of my cauliflower that was in this bed here. And since I've harvested the cauliflower, I hadn't put anything back here because as the summer continues on and we move into mid-August, the end of August, the 1st of September, October, this area right here starts being shaded out. And the cilantro doesn't want all that sun. And so we're going to put it right here in the front of this bed here. It's going to get a little bit of protection from that super hot sun. And that evening sun, that late afternoon sun, the hottest sun of the day is going to be behind my strawberry tower. So it'll be in the shade, protected from that sun as well. So I figured this is the best spot for the cilantro. Now, considering this bed had cauliflower in it, I am going to amend the soil just a little bit. So I'm going to add some Trifecta Plus, which is from M.I. Gardner. Trifecta Plus is a 5-10-4, and I'm hoping it's going to balance out some of the nutrition back into the soil here. And I'm going to add just a little bit of compost. Espoma, however you say that. Anyway, it's the organic land and sea compost. It has crab and lobster meal in it, and I've been adding this compost to all of my 2nd, and 3rd, and 4th succession plantings. So we're going to add a little bit of that as well. Now the bed has already been prepared from a standpoint as I've already removed all the trees and the weeds for the most part. And so I already have those dug up. And when it came to removing the cauliflower, I didn't worry about getting the roots out. I just clipped the roots off right at the top of the soil. So you see the stem sticking out here? And I just left it. We'll worry about that later. And we're going to plant the cilantro right in the very front of this bed. So the first thing we're going to do is add the fertilizer. Wow, this bag's getting low. I think this was a 15-pound bag when I bought it. Yes, it was a 15-pound bag. And I don't remember the exact price, but I think it was upwards of around $50 for 15 pounds. So I don't use this type of fertilizer when I first set my beds up for the year. I use whatever's on sale, whatever granular fertilizer's on sale in the local box stores. And that's what I use initially. And then about mid-season, I come back and I top dress the garden with this, or I use it for the succession planting, but I can't afford to use that when I'm starting my garden up. All right, So now we're going to add a couple handfuls of this compost. And we're going to mix this into the soil. Now, I did move my leach mulch back out of the front here. I don't know if I'll be putting that back or not until after my plants break the soil and germinate, and then we'll worry about putting it back. And now we will add our cilantro. Let's see which one can handle the most sun, because this spot's going to get the most sun. This one gets 18 to 24 inches tall. This one doesn't say. This one gets 20 to 28 inches tall. So it's going to be super tall. So we're going to put this one back here. And I believe that one and this one's the same. So we'll put those there. Well, this one's the slow to bolt though. All right, I'm going to put the slow to bolt back here that's going to get the most sun, and then we'll put the other two down on that end. Now, when it comes to how to plant your seeds, I always tell everyone, plant the seeds per the instructions on the pack. And so this pack says, let me find it, seed depth 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and space them 2 to 4 inches apart. So that's actually pretty close. And I'm gonna try. Oh, they're not that small. I am going to try to do a staggered row so I can kind of get 2 rows in here. And the reason why I need to get 2 rows in here is because my tomatillos are coming in. And when the tomatillos come in, that means we need to start making salsa. And when you get on the back half of the year, you know, we get kind of lazy, right? We don't follow our own instructions and directions and all those kind of things. But I really need the cilantro, so I am going to really try hard to follow the instructions on the package. Now this one says 1/4 inch deep, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it doesn't look any different than the other one, but we're gonna get it in here. The seeds are large enough that I can kind of see where I'm placing them. So hopefully I don't put them too close together, because I'm bad about thinning out my seeds. I know I'm supposed to. I know that's the recommendation. This is how I teach others to do it. And then I don't follow my own instructions. And if you didn't know, cilantro and coriander is basically the same thing. So with cilantro, if you let the plant go to seeds and you harvest those seeds are actually coriander. So you can cook with them as coriander seeds, or you can crush them up and have a coriander powder. But cilantro, coriander, same thing. One more down on the end. Okay. And now we're going to just cover it up. There are a lot of ants in this bed here. They're not happy I disturbed their home. But when it comes to ants, I think about them the same way that I think about those squirrels and those chipmunks. We are not friends. Now I'm going to move my water line so that it's hitting right in between what I believe are 2 rows. And we are good to go with the cilantro. Now cilantro, if you let it go to seeds and you just let those coriander seeds or cilantro seeds just hit the ground, then guess what you're going to have coming up in the garden the next year? Cilantro. I have cilantro volunteers all over my neighbor's garden where I let the seeds fall to the ground and I just left them there. But cilantro, you can harvest at any stage. So as soon as you get a good 4 inches or so, you can start harvesting cilantro and it'll continue to produce until it either gets too hot or it gets too cold. Now, cilantro can handle a light frost, so don't believe that you're going to lose everything once your first frost date hit, because that's not true. Cilantro is a cool weather crop and it can handle frost, a light frost anyway. Now that we've finished putting the cilantro in this bed here, let me take a minute and let's just rewind just a little bit and let me show you all of the different things that's been harvested in the garden throughout the last week. In this short video here, you see a full basket here of all the different types of tomatoes that I've harvested over the last week. In this other basket here, there are peppers and green beans and eggplant and cucumbers, as well as some winter squash here on the back side. Now, these peppers are all sweet peppers. And right here, what I'm showing you now are some of my tomatillos for making green salsa. So those are starting to come in as well. So overall, you can see this is just a wonderful harvest. I didn't get a chance to do a garden tour for the month of July, and it's August 4th, so let's go ahead and do an early August garden tour. Now, everything in the garden's not doing very well at the moment. There are some things that are doing really well, and there are a few things that have called it quits for the year. So let's go on this tour so you can see how things are doing in the garden. This is a view of the garden from about 10 feet in the air. I wanted you to see the whole garden from a higher point of view. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the aerial view that I just shared, but let's see what else is going on over here. So some of my summer squash has completely died back, it's gone. The pot's completely taken over with weeds right here. There's nothing left. But one of my new squash plants are starting to bear fruit. And it's looking great, other than the fact that it's like 95 in the shade. Here's another squash plant that's pretty much done. In this space here, I replanted okra. And I started some additional squash in the back. Winter squash, as well as some watermelon are over here. And they're taking off. Hopefully we'll have time to get something. If not, I lost what, 3 seeds? Here's another second planting of squash. Here's a first planting of squash that's pretty much done. The strawberry tower is full and green, and it had stopped producing strawberries. But my daughter tells me this last week she's been getting about 4 or 5 strawberries every day. So hopefully we're getting ready to get another swell of strawberries, because these are ever-bearing strawberries. Over here, I got my zipper cream peas. They're looking pretty good in my containers anyway. And then we get into whatever happened. I'm not 100% sure, but something has killed the tops of all of my potatoes. Some kind of disease. I've never had that happen before on my second planting. I did everything exactly the same way. I don't know if it was watering. The bottom leaves still look pretty good, so I'm going to just leave them, because it's not like they're going to spread disease to anything else, because everything looks the same already. So this is my second planting of potatoes. I'm hoping I can keep them in the ground for another month, and then we will harvest them. Most likely they'll be just new potatoes, which are smaller potatoes, which is typically what I get with the second planting. In this bed here, I have some purple whole peas, and they germinated in like 3 days. And they're already coming up. They're looking good. I have a few carrots here in the front. This is cantaloupe back here. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is cantaloupe in there. There are looks like 3 cantaloupes trying to grow in there, but you probably can't see it. It's a little better angle. And the cantaloupe is running behind the beds and vining everywhere. Now I have the opportunity to go ahead and pull all of the onion left in the garden. So there's a pile right there sitting and drying out. Here's another small pile and a much larger pile over here. The sun's going down, so my shadow's in everything. But here's some pretty nice sized onion. And I will leave these onion here drying out for a couple of days because there's no rain in sight. And then we will move them over into the curing area. Look at the size of that. Isn't that nice? Again, an exceptional harvest. Now these onion are called Global. They are not sweet onion, just the typical onion, but they're not sweet. I was just growing them for the size, just to play around with it, but I got some nice ones there. And I don't remember what kind those are, but I'll find out and I'll put it on the screen for you. Back here, I have all of my tomatillos, and my tomatillos are every bit 6 feet tall, and they're using my Mighty Crop disc for support, and they're doing really well with the Mighty Crop disc. You can get those on Amazon. These broccoli are pretty much done. And in the very front, the cabbage, I might get one head out of the 3 that are there. But this was my bed of cabbage, and there's quite a few ready to harvest. I might harvest a couple this weekend before I leave to go out of town again. In the very front of this bed, we planted some carrots. This back bed here are different types of radishes. So I have red radish, white radish, purple radish, all in this bed here. And in the back, I was trying to grow some lettuce as well as some spinach. No love, no joy, just too hot. But the radish did like this space. Now this is one of my most shaded beds. The radish enjoyed it, but the lettuce just still couldn't handle just 95-degree days. In this bed here, I have my rhubarb. And I was hoping someone can give me some information about rhubarb. The information I have says that you're not supposed to harvest it the first year. But look at my rhubarb. It is so nice. And it says I'm supposed to wait till year 2. But if someone knows anything about rhubarb, please, please hit me up in the comments. Let me know what I can and can't do with this rhubarb. And then behind the rhubarb here, I have a little bit of okra. And it's just now starting to flower. So we might get a few pieces of okra for my family. Not for me. This bed here is going to come out. These are some of the very first beans that I put in. And so these beans went in, it was either the end of March or the 1st of April. And believe it or not, they're still trying to give me beans every now and then, but my plan is to pull them out and put something else in this space. But until I'm ready to put something in this space, at least I'm getting a dozen beans or so every couple of days versus nothing. Coming back to this bed right here, along the back of this bed here are all of my specialty tomatoes. I call them specialty tomatoes because they're not the traditional red tomatoes. So I have Black Beauty, I have Dr. Wychees, I have Cherokee Purple, I have Big Rainbow, I have True Black Brandywines back here. I've really been doing a lot of harvesting off of this bed here. And I have one more Dr. Wychees is doing really well, but I'm not going to pick that. I already have a huge basket inside. These are zipper cream peas, very similar to purple whole peas, but they're just cream in color. The bed right beside us here are beef steak tomatoes. And like I said, it's August 4th. By now, August 4th, I usually have so much disease on my tomato plants that they're limping along, but these plants are doing amazing. I mean, look at the size of some of these tomatoes. They're huge. And it goes all the way down that way. They're huge and they're green and they're healthy. Again, I just harvested a huge basket off of these, and there's more ready to go. And my mother harvested all week for me. And so tomatoes are doing really, really well. There's a huge curly kale right there. Some more cream zipper peas. Those cream zipper peas did not germinate well at all in my raised beds, but they did amazing in the containers. And right next to them, I planted some carrots. They have not germinated yet. These are my paste tomatoes, and I thought they were going to die back and call it quits as well, but they're doing amazing also. And they're putting on new tomatoes. There are blooms everywhere. I just harvested all of the onion off the back side. And then on this side, all of this broccoli I planted early in the season. I'm talking March, April timing. And I got the main crown and I cut the main stalk down to like 1.5 feet, and they're still producing. I mean, producing really well. I'm surprised that they're producing this well this late in the season, as hot as it has been. And since I've been gone, my mother was harvesting some, but she missed some. So some of them did go to flower. We'll cut those back tomorrow and we will get the good heads. This next trellis here is all cucumbers. And if I'm not mistaken, the back half of the trellis is all pickling cucumbers. In the middle, I have a hybrid cucumber, so a burpless hybrid kind. And on the very front corner here, I had a white wonder, which has produced nothing. So it's a wonder where the white wonder is right now. But this particular bed of cucumbers have been giving and giving and giving. I'm just now starting to see a little bit of disease down low, but for the most part, this bed has been doing amazing. Now, this is where we just planted the cilantro, but behind the cilantro are my medium heat peppers. So poblanos, jalapenos, ancho chili peppers, all of those kind of things are back here. And I believe the cauliflower was shading them out quite a bit because as soon as I harvest them, they kind of took off. They've probably grown 6 inches in the last week. And so I'm making sure that they're watered well. I added some additional fertilizer and they're doing great. Some of them are turning red, so I should have already harvested them, but just hadn't got to it yet. I don't want to accidentally mix up my spicy peppers with my sweet peppers because my family would not forgive me. I forgot to mention here, this was a sucker. As I was working to support some of the tomato plants, I accidentally ripped this one out. So I didn't put it in water and root it or anything like that. I just dug a hole, stuck it in the ground, and it has bounced back. And hopefully we will get some type of, it's either a Cherokee purple or it's a black beauty. I don't remember which one, but they're blooms. So hopefully we'll get something on that. This bed here, the front part of this bed here anyway, is a mixture of just regular red slicers, supposedly. But then I had so many extra plants, I started adding in stuff. So I have a paste tomato here. And then I have Abe Lincoln, a terracotta, a Coastal Lee in the front. And again, I thought this one was going to die back, but for whatever reason, all of a sudden they're very happy and they're putting tomatoes on like crazy. In the back here of that same bed is where I grew all of my cherry tomatoes. Now I have Sun Gold back here. I have the Sweet 100. I have something called a Champagne Bubbles, and it's not a red tomato. It's more of a yellowish orangish hue, and it's delicious. I also have the black cherry back here, and I also have the black strawberry back here. And there aren't many on them right now because I just harvested them yesterday. And so most of them are in the house waiting to be processed. If you don't know what a black strawberry is, that's what it looks like right there when it's ripe. It's quite delicious. Now on this side of that same 10-foot bed there, I have a variety of things. One, I have one lonely celery plant to go along with the other 50 that I have throughout the garden. And then I have a variety of peppers right here that are doing really well. They're bell peppers, paprika peppers, Jimmy Nardello peppers down on this end here. And then I have 3 what I call super hot peppers right here: Serrano, Baggio, and Datil. The Baggio is producing madly. There's the Baggio right there, and it's doing really, really well. The Serrano peppers are starting to come in as well, but they're not producing like the Baggio. And this Datil was a free pepper to me. And I believe these are the first blooms I've seen on this. Now the plant's been super healthy. It was one of the first plants to kind of take off and shoot up, but it's given me nothing. And it's a hot pepper, so no one's really going to eat it in my house anyway. It was just something to kind of play around with. I have harvested the paprika peppers quite a bit, and we have those drying inside. Back here, I have some collard greens, which if I get a chance, we will get these picked this weekend, or should I say harvested this weekend, because I believe I'm going to pull them all the way up. Right next to me here, I have more okra. Some okra coming up back here. Did I tell you I don't like okra? Not for me. I have a pretty big zucchini back here. And right here are a few more broccoli that are doing pretty well. The side shoots keep giving. I've planted a few extra cucumbers, so I put some cucumbers in that pot, as well as that pot there. And back here are melons. And so I got a sign there saying that it's honey rock, so I'm going to assume that that's right. And there's one melon down there. Now my grapes are starting to get a little sweet. Every now and then I taste one, and they are starting to sweeten up. So maybe a month out, I don't know. I've never grown grapes before, but they're doing really well. I have 2 pots right here that they have ginger in them, and they look good. They're doing well. So I'm assuming the ginger is doing well under the ground. Now I have cucumbers mixed in here with my grapes, and I've harvested, I don't know, 2 or 3 off of there. They were planted super late. I have more cabbage in this bed here. And I mean, most of these heads, well, let's see. 3 of the 5 heads that I have in here are ready to harvest. I just need them to hold out just a little longer. With my travel schedule, I don't have time to process them. Underneath my arch here, I have tons and tons and tons and tons and more and more and more and more celery. Celery runs this whole bed. I've harvested so many times. It needs to be harvested again. And growing up the trellis are pole beans. Now, I harvested these beans yesterday, but you can't tell it by looking at that. I mean, these beans are doing great. Now, early with my bush beans, I was able to get a ton of purple and gold beans, but now the actual green beans are really, really coming in. I used to have peas back here, and got too hot for the peas. They dried out. I pulled them out, and now we have cucumbers growing in the back here up this trellis. Those were supposed to be winter squash that just never took off. I don't believe this was the best spot for them, but I was hoping that they would climb the trellis on this side. But next year, I will just plant beans on both sides of the trellis, and that will make that really beautiful going all the way across. On the back of this trellis here, I have more cucumbers, and they actually have been coming in, and they are some of the biggest, straightest slicing cucumbers I've ever had. I do have a couple melon plants that for the longest they just sit there, but they're nice, they're green, they're healthy, but they have no melons on them yet. And then a few one-off tomatoes back here. Dr. Wychee's, Brandy Wise, Delicious. So they're slicers, they're beefsteaks, a lot of different kinds of tomatoes back here. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications and share, and I will keep these videos coming. Until next time, I'll see you back here again really soon. Bye.